UFC Fight Night Paris Moicano versus Saint-Denis takes place this weekend. I'm going to go through the entire fight card, giving you my predictions, telling you who I think is going to win and why. This card's actually pretty good for a fight night. We're not used to that. We usually get absolutely garbage Apex cards. But we have a good one going to Paris. We'll take it. You know, we're starving out here. A lot of these fights are really hard to predict, and that's the case with the opening fight. Balaji Oki versus Chris Duncan. Now, both of these guys have great records. 9-1 versus 11-2. That was more on like the regional upcoming scene. In the UFC, they've kind of been mediocre. I think Chris Duncan, he's good, but he is pretty slow compared to Oki. I think Oki's a little bit more complete, and for that reason, I am going to pick Balaji Oki to get this one done, probably by a decision. It's really hard to choose some of these fights. This one's kind of a toss-up, but if I'm leaning one way, it's Balaji Oki. Keeping up the tough-to-pick fights, we have a women's fight, which is always 50-50, and especially when you don't really know the two women that are fighting super well. I did a little bit of research. Nora Cornell, everyone's favorite, versus Jacqueline Cavalcanti. I promise I know the sport, just names are not my friend. So this one's actually pretty tough. Again, women's fight are always so tough to predict. Good records, 8-1 versus 7-1. Nora is older, she's a little bit more experienced. She also has been more ready for this fight. This is a short-noticed backup replacement fight for Jacqueline, who also fought recently. She isn't the most active fighter. She's younger, though. It's such a toss-up. If I flip a coin, who's it going to land on? For some reason, my heart's telling me Jacqueline Cavalcanti is going to get this one done, and even though the odds are kind of stacked up against her, I have a feeling she'll get this one done. They're both pretty good on the feet. I think Jacqueline's going to be able to do more. She's also the younger fighter. I think she's just going to look better. Oh my god, another tough one. Daniel Barraez versus Victor Altamirano. This one's tough. Daniel Barraez, he's okay. He's got good wrestling. He's older. I don't think he's as good as Victor Altamirano. I think Altamirano is going to get it done. On the feet, I think he's more dangerous. I think he's a better striker. I think he has more power. It is flyweight, so I'm sure this will go to a decision. Maybe Barraez can hold him down. Maybe. He's kind of struggled to do that in the past. I'm picking Victor Altamirano. I think he's just all around a better fighter. He's younger. He's got way more power, in my opinion. I think he's a better striker. I'm going to pick Victor Altamirano, probably a decision. This card does not get easier, with predictions or name pronunciation. Aylin Perez versus Daria Zelekanovkova. Okay, anyways. This one's tough because Daria, she's a great striker, honestly, at the women's bantamweight division. And I don't say that a lot about women's fighters. I don't say they're great at much. But she's pretty good on the feet, you know? Good record, 9-1. She's facing Aylin Perez, who is shorter, but she's more stocky. And she tends to get a lot of takedowns. I'm kind of leaning towards Aylin Perez for this one because we've seen Daria taken down in the past and kind of struggle with that. So I'm going to pick Aylin Perez to get this one done by decision using her wrestling. Of course, we could see Daria stuff those takedowns. Maybe she's worked on it and her striking is going to look really good, but I am picking Aylin Perez. All right, this one's a little bit easier for me. Taylor Lapilus versus Vince Morales. I do think he has an advantage in this fight. Vince Morales actually got kicked out of the UFC, and he did decent outside of the UFC, but I don't think it's going to be enough for him to get past Taylor Lapilus. I think that's why they've matched him up this way. I think the UFC knew what they were doing when they matched this fight together. Taylor Lapilus, I think, is just all around a much better fighter at this point in their careers. I think he's super tricky. He's actually a lot of fun to watch. I like his style. I'm going with Taylor Lapilus to get this one done against Vince Morales. Maybe the biggest lock on this card for me, Ludovic Klein taking on Roosevelt Roberts. Now, of course, Ludovic Klein was supposed to fight someone else. I believe it was Nicholas Mata. Either way, Ludovic Klein is getting fed to nobody's kind of bums. I don't know why. He's literally beat Ignacio Bahamondes, and I feel like they're pushing Bahamondes more. Ludovic Klein's insanely good. He's insanely talented. He needs to be fighting guys within close to the rankings at this point in his career. I see him getting this one done before the final bell. I think he's going to have an easy time with Roosevelt Roberts. Umar Sy versus Da Un Jung. This one's actually pretty easy for me to pick as well. I'm going to go Umar Sy. I think his grappling is going to be far too much. Jung's really not bad. He's looked okay against some decent competition in the past, but I think Umar Sy's grappling is going to be way too much. He's 10-0. I think he's actually a pretty good prospect to look out for in the light heavyweight division. He's only 28. I like everything I'm seeing with Umar Sy. I think he's going to be able to get this one done. Maybe he'll have a submission up his belt, but who knows. Headlining the prelims, we have Jan Kutalaba versus Ivan Urslan. Jan Kutalaba, I don't know how he's still in the UFC. He's probably going to be cut after this one because I am going Ivan Urslan. I think he's actually pretty decent. He's fought some good names outside of the UFC. He's looked okay. He has a decent record. I think Jan Kutalaba is just not the best fighter. I every time I watch this guy fight, he gets embarrassed. I'm sorry. There's not a lot he can do to make me pick him. I think I'm going to have to see Jan Kutalaba win in order for me to believe in him and pick him in any fight ever again. So I am going Ivan Urslan to get this one done. Probably a finish since we're at light heavyweight. Not 100% sure of the method, but I do think Ivan Urslan is pretty good. Fares Ziam versus Matt Frivola. This one is, I don't even know. My heart's telling me Matt Frivola. I don't know if he's the underdog. I'm sure he is. He's older. I'm looking right now. He's 34. He's shorter. He has less reach. I feel like he's good, though. He's fought good guys. He's beat good guys. I don't know if it's crazy of me to pick Matt Frivola. This one's really tough. I'm kind of talking myself through it as we're on the mic here. Fares Ziam, he's looked pretty good lately. He lost to Terrence McKinney. That was his last loss. Frivola, his last loss was against Benoit Saint-Denis. But he beat Drew Dober. Like, I think I'm sticking to what I'm saying. Matt Frivola is going to catch him in second round, third round. He's going to get it done. This one's one of the scarier picks on the card for me, but I am going Matt Frivola to get a finish. Morgan Charrier versus Gabriel Miranda. This one is very misleading. Morgan Charrier, he's 28. He's already had 30 pro fights. He's 19-10-1. That's crazy. I think he's better than that, though. I really do. He's the French guy here. I think he's going to get this one done. His record looks kind of ugly. And when I see a record like that on someone like Jan Kutalaba, I'm like, how's this guy in the UFC? But it's different. I think Morgan Charrier is actually pretty good. He's exciting. I think he's going to get this one done over Gabriel Miranda. He's looked pretty good in his UFC stint. And yeah, I don't see him losing this one. Maybe he will. Maybe I'll get proven wrong. But I like to look at age for some reason a lot with these predictions too. He's 28. Miranda's 34. I think Morgan Charrier is going to get this one done. Again, I think they're really trying to favor the French fighters here, and I think that's why he got this matchup. So I am going with Morgan Charrier. Kevin Jousset versus Brian Battle. This one's tough. They're both 10-2. They're both pretty good. Every time Brian Battle fights, I'm rooting for him. I've been a big Brian Battle fan, and I don't even really know what it is. I just think he's cool. He's entertaining. He's fun. And of course, after his last fight, where he started yelling in the octagon after the no contest, he's everyone's favorite fighter now with what he was saying. But I am going Brian Battle. I know that's crazy maybe, but I think he's all around really good. I think his striking is honestly really fun to watch, and he's very technical in there. His timing's great. I think he's going to catch Jousset. I am going Brian Battle to get this one done. We've seen him fight guys like RENATO, Frakananov. You know who I'm talking about, that crazy guy. And those are the type of people he loses to. But I don't think he's going to lose this one. I think he's too good. I think he's getting better. He's actually really fun to watch. I love Brian Battle. I'm very biased with Brian Battle, so it's going to be hard for me to ever pick against him. William Gomez versus Joanderson Brito. Now, this one is intriguing because William Gomez I find to be quite boring. I know he's very technical. I know he's got the Israel Adesanya problem. He's just boring and everyone thinks he's the greatest. I'm sorry. I know he's good. I know they're kind of pushing him, and he's French, so a decision will be scary here. But if you guys don't know who Joanderson Brito is, watch this man. I think he's going to win. I do. He has a win over Diego Lopez. Yes, Diego Lopez, the mullet man himself. If you can do that, even if Diego Lopez has improved so much, I think Joanderson Brito is next up. I really do. I'm going with Joanderson Brito to get this one done. I am. I don't know if that's a crazy take. I'll have to watch other breakdowns, predictions, see how mine line up against other content creators. I'm thinking Joanderson Brito is going to actually smoke this guy, and the people are going to figure out who he is. Nassourdine IMAVOV versus Brendan Allen. How do I even predict this one? This one I've been torn over for months. They're both good. I think Nassourdine IMAVOV is all around a much better fighter. I think he's great on the feet. His wrestling isn't amazing. He's been out-grappled and outworked by a lot of people in the past. When you look at his fight against someone like Jared Cannonier easily controlled him in the grappling, and I think Brendan Allen's a better grappler than Jared Cannonier. Brendan Allen's actually pretty underrated. It's funny to hate on him. Why does my gut feel like Brendan Allen's going to somehow get this one done? This is such a hard match for me to pick. Going with my original pick, I'm going NASSOURDINE IMAVOV by decision. I think he's going to get it done, but it's really tough. I think IMAVOV's better than someone like Chris Curtis, and we saw Chris Curtis give Brendan Allen such a tough matchup. I'm going with NASSOURDINE IMAVOV. I'm going to stop talking before I talk myself out of it. It's much easier to talk about fights when you actually watch the fighters and see them on bigger cards. Obviously, I have to do more research when it comes to these prelim guys and stuff. Here we are. That is why I signed up to be a YouTube MMA channel. Anyways, the main event. Renato Money Moicano. He cannot afford to lose. He's facing Benoit Saint-Denis. Now, Benoit Saint-Denis, of course, he came off of a loss to Dustin Poirier. He got pushed majorly. I was a believer in Benoit Saint-Denis. I thought he was going to beat Poirier. Awkward. I don't know why I bet against my man Dustin like that. It was hard, but I like Benoit Saint-Denis. I think he's a killer, but I also love Renato Moicano. I think he's hilarious. His YouTube channel's great. He's based. He's got it all. His last performance was brilliant. He faced Jalen Turner, and, well, I don't know if I should say brilliant, but it was fun to watch. He got lit up by Jalen Turner over and over again. Survived. Now, I think Jalen Turner would have won the fight if he actually went for a finish, but he kept trying to be cool. His IQ's not really there. That is not the case with Benoit Saint-Denis. I don't think he's going to try to do something like that. I think Benoit is still amazing. Just because he lost to Dustin Poirier does not mean he's not good. I don't know if that's a narrative going around. People say he got fraud checked. You're facing Dustin Poirier. He was like ranked 13th or 11th or something like that, and he faced Dustin Poirier. Like, he came off of a win against Matt Frivola and faced Poirier. It's going to happen. I still think he's a killer. This one's so tough. Moicano is okay on the feet. He's actually pretty good. Obviously, Saint-Denis better. Moicano is a genius on the ground. He's a great grappler. He's got deadly submissions. He's very strong on the ground. But if you remember, Benoit Saint-Denis could hold Dustin Poirier against the cage and not even let him move. He was dominating that first round, honestly, against Poirier. If he worked on his cardio, I know he had staff going against Poirier. If he worked on his cardio, if he can keep that together, we see Moicano get hit by big shots and go down. I don't think Saint-Denis is going to make the same mistakes that Jalen Turner does. I love Renato Moicano, but I'm going with Benoit Saint-Denis to get this one done in the second or third round by a TKO knockout, something like that. Maybe even a submission. We've seen Moicano get submitted before. I think they're both great. I think they're both at their best right now. And I do think Benoit Saint-Denis is just a little bit better and more in his prime right now. I think he's a fantastic fighter. It's a tough one. This whole card has a lot of very close matchups, but I'm going to Benoit Saint-Denis. We'll see what's next for these guys after the fight. But those are my predictions. I'm going to do a full card breakdown after the event is over. If you guys agree, disagree, let me know in the comments below. I'm excited to see what you say. If you're new around here, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see y'all later. Peace.